that. Welcome to Masters of Marketing today. I got Brian Colligan here, Ross Gates, got Jody, and
Hey, hey.
we're going to be talking about some really interesting, timely topics. A little bit off the marketing track, but something that's like extremely relevant to anybody out there that's running a business. We're going to talk about funding, SBA funding, kind of what's going on in the zeitgeist right now. How do you go through the process? Some other things that we've learned over the last couple of days. We're going to talk about referrals in growth. So in growth marketing, or the R framework: activation, acquisition, activation, retention, referral, revenue, right? So when is the right time to place referral, and the second of order effects of COVID-19 and the coronavirus. So first order effects are what is the immediate impact. Second order effects are what is the longer term impact of the coronavirus. And so I'm going to just hop right in and jump right into it. Cool. So the first thing is we have talked about going back and forth on whether or not we should take a loan and SBA funding. And if your business has been impacted in any way, shape, or form of COVID-19 or the coronavirus, there is a $10,000 you don't have to pay back grant for a business in America. So essentially, say if your business has been impacted at all, we were supposed to get a contract. We lost a contract. We didn't lose it. They said, hey, we want to set on pause for 2-3 months, kind of see what's going to go on here. But it's like, for us, it's like $30,000 or $40,000 a month contract, which is a large sum of money and revenue for us. And it was like a year-long gig, which was cool. But essentially, we have been impacted and affected by COVID and Corona. And so this is a grant that's available to anybody that's been affected by. It's pretty easy to go through. Some people are getting their checks. The government basically said in the new legislation, it says you're supposed to get your check within 3 days of putting in your application. The reality is it's taken a week or two. It's only been out for a week. And so definitely people are not getting it in 3 days, but it comes pretty quickly. And once you do that through SBA, and you do that, it's a grant, and there's $10 billion available. So it's a lot of money
When you,
available. Yeah.
when you say you do that through SBA, you're doing it through your bank through the SBA, right? Or you're going directly to the SBA?
You go directly to the SBA. The bank through the SBA is the next part, right?
Gotcha.
That is the PPP, right? So this is basically the payment, PPP, I forget what it stands for. It's basically the protection for payments of employees. That's the second one. We put together this copy of this Small Business Owner's Guide to the CARES Act. The CARES Act is the $2 trillion act that was enacted. The first piece is the $10,000 grant, which is called EIDL, some people are calling it. And that's an immediate $10,000. It's a grant. You don't have to pay back, right? The second piece is the PPP loan, right? So we're doing research. Wells Fargo is our bank, and it turns out because Wells Fargo were not the best characters, and they were doing these frauds about opening up these bank accounts that were to non-existent customers. They are only allowed to loan $20 billion this year, which seems like a lot, but basically the way that you get the PPP loan, which is a much larger process, and it's a loan, and you have to kind of prove how much loss of revenue that you've had, or perceived loss of revenue that you had over the next couple months. It's one of those things where once you have to prove it, and you have to go through your bank. So the SBA is backing these loans. The government is backing these loans, but essentially these loans, you need to work through your bank. And if Wells Fargo is only allowed to loan $20 billion, they're going to choose for higher interest rate loans. So we're probably going to switch banks. We're looking at Bank of America. And so I've talked to a couple other founders, a couple other startup people, and basically what they've told me is they've gotten radio silence. So you're going to need to talk to an individualized banker, and that banker you need to start a relationship with, tell them like what you're going through, and have them individually push this through. Because if you just do the application throw it over the fence. The initial feedback that I'm getting is that you're not getting any responses or feedback at all. And so I'll keep up to date and keep on as we go through the next couple days, go through and give you more feedback on kind of what's happening here. So, but we put together this guide through a couple pieces of information out there. There's a 31-page initial fact because we're kind of going through the process ourselves. So we just kind of put all the information that we had into a document that we found interesting on the subject. And if you're interested in getting this, just email me, Bryan at alphavoice.io, or click on and share on the LinkedIn link according to today's Masters of Marketing. And I will DM you the link down here.
Yeah, Bryan.
Yes.
In our comment section, we have a few interesting links that are also talking about different special funds for women specifically. There's a $5,000 given to a special grant, which is the Red Backpack Fund.
Marina, do you want to talk about what you just posted at all, or the takeaways that you had yesterday? No? Okay.
Cool.
She's going to switch rooms, but
Gotcha. Okay, we'll get back to that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks, Jody.
Hey, cool. So we got another link for some more funding. I know there's individual entrepreneurs and influencers out there that are putting their own kind of funding and influencer packages together. There's one influencer, Dan Martell out of Canada, who gave away $10,000 grants to people in his community. He put it out there on social media. He got another $500,000 from other individuals that wanted to donate to people in his community. And so now he's giving out 50 grants, $10,000 each to small businesses in Canada, which is super interesting, super rad. Yeah, he's a great guy, Dan Martell. Look at him up. He's a business coach, small business coach. And, there's a lot of resources out there. We did our best to compile them in a short time. We'll put some more as we kind of go through the process, and we'll let you know what we're successful with.
Cool. Marina's here. Marina, floor yours if you want to say a few words.
Hi guys. So yeah, I wanna just share some resource that there is this initiative. It's called the Red Backpack Fund, and yesterday I just came across it. It's basically a fund that gives $5,000 for U.S. nonprofits and for-profit businesses, which is majority women-owned, with annual revenue less than $5 million and fewer than 50 team members. So I think it's a great opportunity. Like if there are any women on a call who basically meet the requirements, they can apply and just get it a gift. It's a gift that they put together, $5 million for 1,000 basically applicants as an emergency assistance grant during the COVID pandemic. So I think it's kind of an interesting thing to apply for.
That's awesome.
For sure. That's awesome that that's available.
That's really cool. Yeah, I think a lot of entrepreneurs and people that have the ability to give are like coming together and coming out of the woodworks and basically like providing these things to like help people out. It's amazing. It's amazing. Like it does take an apocalypse and a pandemic for people to come together, but it's really cool that how people are coming together and helping each other out. That's really the purpose of what we're doing here. Is like why we started this whole thing was like, what are we doing to make lemonades out of lemons in this situation and trying to like help other people out. And we're just going to give 30 minutes to an hour every day. And that's what we can do. So do what you can. Cool.
Cool. Shall we jump to the next conversation?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Yeah, Jake, go. What do you have?
Oh, I just want to throw in a fun fact actually in there. So reading this book on my 27th book this year, reading Anti-Fragile by Nassim Taleb, who wrote Black Swan. He talks about anti-fragility, which is the opposite of fragility, which there's no word in the human language or any language for anti-fragile, which means actually benefiting from uncertainty and chaos. So through some of these tough times, there's actually have been kind of some unique opportunities that can help us grow. So writing it down. Yeah, really great book. One of his best, actually, I think. But Nathan Taleb's an amazing writer. Anyways, fun fact: anti-fragility. Look it up. Finding strength and growth through uncertainty and stressors.
For
Awesome.
sure.
That super ties into the last topic. But before we get there,
Before
let's
we
talk about
get there,
referrals.
let's quickly talk about referrals. So I just want to talk about something that I'm really excited that I learned yesterday. I was on growthhackers.com just watching some videos, and I saw a great presentation by a marketer at Airbnb all about growth channels. But and it was 45 minutes, but the one that I stuck on was, when do you ask your customer to refer other people in the process of actually using your product? And her whole conclusion was, every product has that aha moment where you figure out that, wow, this tool really helps me more than I could do it on my own. And right after the person reaches that aha moment, you should have them review your product, and you should also have them refer other people to your product. And I thought this was really interesting because with something like Airbnb, they have people stay at hotels or people's houses, and right after the first experience they ever have, when the person's like, wow, that was a great experience, they have the person review and invite their friends. So that's their aha moment. My aha moment for my product, we're making a video email, an email sending service. And so I always thought the aha moment was after you actually send an entire campaign, you see the stats on how the campaign has gone. And then that's the aha, like it worked, ask for a referral, ask for a rating. But after watching this video, I went through a bunch of other email marketing tools, kind of just to do some user research on the competitors, and found that they are actually using these strategies at different points in their funnel of their product. And so while I thought the aha moment was all the way at the end, I went through a product like Mailshake and found that they ask for a rating and a referral not after your first campaign runs, but just after you set up your first campaign and you see how easy it was to set up that campaign. Then they ask for a referral. And so what I learned kind of is you should go through different products and see when they ask for referrals so that you can see what they believe is the aha moment in their product. If you're making something similar, then you may change what you believe your own aha moment to be is.
So what was your thesis on why the referral was originally there, and what did your mind change but once you kind of saw this in another product?
I mean, I always know that referrals are great to have because you can go from linear to exponential growth if you get someone to invite their 5 friends and they invite their 5 friends. You pay $10 to receive one person through paid advertising. And then if they invite 5 people, then you've essentially only paid $2 per person. Right. But just asking someone right at the beginning is different than asking them after they've actually gotten value.
So the perceived value that you thought of before was, let's put referrals at the end of the sequence when people start getting the analytics and the good feedback on their email campaigns.
Exactly.
And then the switch was the ability to create the email campaign is the aha moment, or to create a sequence.
Yeah, kind of the ability to see a calendar and say, the whole reason I'm using this tool is because I can't come in and send 100 emails a day. So I'm going to automate it. So as soon as you see that you've set up something that is going to do that for you, they're going to send 100 emails a day and you're never going to have to touch it. That is the aha moment. What the responses to those emails are, hopefully they're good, but that's further in the future.
Right. So you're not, in something like an email campaign, you're not going to be reliant on the results of the email campaign to then have people refer the product. Just the fact that you're able to sequence, get 100 different people and put them into an email sequence is in and of itself something that's saving them time and giving them value. And so you're saying that as soon as you save them time and give them value, that's the point. And they realize that that's the point that you should put in your referral for our product.
for our product. And that's not what I thought it was for our product. And I
Interesting.
wouldn't have changed my mindset if I hadn't seen this presentation and seen that, hey, people ask for referral at the aha moment. I'm going to go, do some competitive analysis and see what everybody else is doing.
Got it. So Airbnb's was at the first booking?
It was right after you had your first day. It
Got
was
it.
like the day after the calendar says your first day was over. It was like, how did you like the experience? Would you recommend a friend do the exact same thing?
Do you have another example?
I don't.
Cool.
I'm sure there's tons out there, but I got sidetracked.
Yeah. I think there's another kind of angle on this is like the gamification of the onboarding of like a lot of different apps, such as like LinkedIn. I'm gonna go through and am I still sharing my screen?
Yep. I
Okay,
mean, for
cool.
sure. There's something like Slack, like you sign up for Slack, it tells you to invite your 6 friends. I wouldn't say that's the same as the aha moment though, because you actually need those 6 friends to actually use the tool. You haven't received any value until you've sent one of them a message. So it varies.
Yeah, I think here's another example of where I think I would place if I was head of growth at LinkedIn is once you go through the training and you understand all of the options that are available in Sales Navigator, I might put a link in there to have somebody share the Sales Navigator tool with a discount. So then not only am I, hey, look, I already went through the process and I understand how Sales Navigator is and I'm interested in sharing it, but then there's like a discount associated with it and then I'm helping a friend. So I've never actually gone through the Sales Navigator coach, but it's showing me that I'm on the process. And if I get to the end of the process with a star, I think that's where I would place in a shareable link with a coupon, and then I can get my friends involved and maybe even a little bit of kickback to myself in terms of the referral. So there's always a place where the user is educated enough to go through the process and understand the product, and then you kind of kick in the referral.
Yeah, which benefits really super simple products. Like Robinhood, I'm just thinking, you make a trade, you put in some money, you buy a stock, it takes a day to clear. Then they ask you to refer friends, they get something for free, you get something for free. Like it only does one thing, it's super simple. But on more complex projects like entire dashboards or suites of tools, you have to figure out, what the simplest piece of value they get is. And that's kind of, I don't know, that's kind of the insight that I got out of this is, I don't know, how to dissect your own product.
Awesome. Cool. Any questions? Comments?
Concerns?
All right. Cool. No concerns. All right. Awesome. So Jake, you talked about anti-fragile and anti-fragile. Some of the organisms or things in existence that are the most anti-fragile are people, right? There's kind of like this phrase of like, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I think it's a very valuable phrase on speaking of what the next topic is. And it's the second order effect of COVID-19 and the coronavirus. It's not exactly directly associated with marketing, but I came across this weekend, and it brought back a whole bunch of ideas. So I used to work for this company called Sliced Investing, and I was the head of growth and a front-end developer and like the first developer hire, and we were helping hedge funds market their hedge funds online. And as we talked to the hedge funds and as we talked to like these different investors, everybody was always looking for a story in the investment. You had to have the return profile, had to be a good return profile, but people didn't really invest based upon like the return profile. What people were looking for in the hedge fund world was an actual story. And the story that they were looking for can be described as something like called the second order effect, right? And we're in this really weird, to quote Nassim Taleb again, the guy of Anti-Fragile, he had this has this other book called The Black Swan. So the Black Swan was the 2008 crisis. He was buying all these options and put calls, and you basically are paying money until the market collapses on these options and put calls. And then essentially from that point, he became like unbelievably wealthy, and he ended up closing down his fund later on because he made so much money. And he wrote a book about it called The Black Swan. He's like, these black swan events, you don't know when they're going to happen. COVID-19 is an example of one. But essentially what the interesting part about it is, you could think of it as kind of like opportunistic or thirsty or whatever you want to call it. But the reality is that you kind of have to make lemonade from lemons in this time. And the way that you do it is through what's called the second order effect. Now, during my time at Sliced, an example of the second order effect was that there was this very large drought going on in California. And so one of the funds that approached us, we actually didn't put on the platform, but that discussed it, was there was like a 4-year drought in California. The prices of fruit was going up. There was some other things going on in the market, and the rise of almond milk as like an alternative source to milk in the like health community. California is like has a bunch of like extremely health people. Milk is seen as kind of not ethical, stealing a baby's food source, and as well as can be inflammatory to a lot of people. And so people that were getting off dairy were drinking a lot of almond milk, and you have a 4-year drought, the longest drought in California I've ever seen. And so there's this one fund that got together and said, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put together, because of the drought, we're going to start buying up almond farms. And these almond farms that we're buying up, we're going to basically buy them up and rise the prices, because the cost of water is going up, and almonds take a ton of water to basically to grow the almonds. And so we can raise our prices. And then once people are associated with the price sensitivity and the drought ends, we can keep those prices at those levels. And we can lock in a lot of contracts at those levels for a long term. And then these private equity funds and these hedge funds were like, we can make a ton of money as water becomes more and more available. And so that was like the second order effect. And their advantage was, there's a drought, right? So you can get into the first order effect was like, oh, the price of water goes up. And what's the second order effect is everything that utilizes water in California becomes a second order effect, and the price of everything else will go up. So almonds, oranges, all the foods in California, in America, is one of the largest suppliers of food across the country. And so the price of food went up slightly, especially American and California-based items. So these ex-hedge fund people put this together. They, at the beginning, they're quoting Ray Dalio of Bridgewater, who's like one of the largest hedge funds in the world, and he and a couple of people that used to work for him kind of started saying, what's going to go on and what are the opportunities to invest in or to look at. And so in the context of marketing, if you have an agency, if you are a marketer yourself, these are the types of industries that are going to change and that you may want to like create like partnerships or just work with in general on how they're going to change their MO and their modus operandi in terms of what are they doing to interact with COVID and where they see the future going. So if you kind of like look in the personal section, go to the personal section real quick. Here's a bunch of ideas on things that are going to happen, right? So the second order effect in family, husbands and kids and wives spend 10 times as much time together. The third order impact is there are more arguments, divorce rates increase, more sex, condom shortages based upon some of the materials. People are building masks now and other equipment versus condoms and using rubber for different things. More babies, overwhelming hospitals at 9 months, increased home births. So if you have a product, you think about like 9 months from now, there's going to be a lot more babies in the world. And because a lot more people are staying at home. So if you're thinking about putting up a new startup or a new campaign to new mothers and new fathers in 9 months from now, there's good, new babies in the world is a good thing. The bad side is increased child abuse, spousal abuse, especially when economic impact happens. It's one of the highest correlated things that has the highest correlation to child abuse or spousal abuse is economic factors, unfortunately. But it's a reality, and so I don't know what the opportunities are there, but there's the opportunities to help, like, and not get involved with that. So here's an example of opportunities. There's more couples counseling. There's more opportunities to help out divorce lawyers, virtual midwives, increased baby clothing and baby supplies in 9 months demand. And we didn't put this report together. I thought it was like super interesting to talk about and send out there to anybody that's interested. We'll have the links in the slides. We'll put the slides up on Facebook and LinkedIn. And it's something that,
it is really interesting to see the third order or second order effects of even how people will be communicating with each other to figure out what marketing channels you should be going at, what's exploding, what's holding still. Just the own impact that it's had on me is I'm trying to move to Washington, D.C., and I can't rent my apartment because everyone is waiting to see if they will be able to have a conversation with their landlord about not having to pay rent, which I don't know if it's a thing. And then also everyone who has an Airbnb in San Francisco can't rent them to anyone because no one's coming to San Francisco to visit. And so everything's being dumped on the market at below market prices, which makes it impossible to move. But depending on how long you think this thing is gonna last, just like buying puts where in the future you see something is gonna spike, renting a bunch of apartments so that you can sublet them 3 months from now, 6 months from now, or just figuring out where people are communicating could be a great opportunity.
Yeah, I think the real estate market is going to get wrecked over the next 2 years. I mean, we're talking about anywhere from 300,000 to 900,000 new homes in the United States becoming available because of this virus. And people are going to spend more time at home, and those companies that can be remote are going to stay remote. And some of the ideas here, people are going to begin to grow more food in home gardens. There's going to be a seed shortage. So if you're able to like have a market with seeds and have supply for seeds, people are going to that's a great opportunity. Another great opportunity as people spend more time at home, they're going to want larger homes and more space. And so people are going to move out of cities further and further away from cities, because the advantage of cities in a post-COVID-19 era is going to be really tough to be a part of. And so you just need more space.
For sure. I think the crazy thing is the apartment that I live in doesn't have a living room. Don't tell this to anyone on Craigslist where I actually posted this. I want to start the conversation first. But it was a great apartment because it's right across from the park. It's right near all the bars. But in this post, you can't actually go outside world. It's very undesirable because you have to spend your time in your apartment. And what's in close proximity doesn't really actually affect your style of living.
Yeah, but you get to see Dolores Park right from your house, man. It's amazing.
Yeah, come on, people are still going there.
Yeah, I see people at Dolores Park every time I go by there. It's crazy. It's like, stay inside, folks, but don't stay inside.
I see more police though. Like I rode my bike across town yesterday, and so police just rolling down the street, asking people why they were out, but not actually like doing anything, but just like making it known that they're present.
Yeah, in the San Francisco Bay Area, I watched a report on Friday or Saturday that said not one person has been arrested for shelter in place.
They started this morning.
It started this morning.
Arresting?
In California, started arresting people for not doing shelter in place. Well, that's fresh news to me, and it's 11:01. Thanks for everybody for joining. Any comments or questions before we sign off?
Brian,
Yes, sir.
something we should catch up on is I used to work at a competitor. I'm very familiar with Slice investing.
Oh, nice.
I work at a direct competitor. You probably heard of us, Vinovate.
Wow.
You know that? You heard of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like very familiar with Slice investing. I was like, when I just moved to the Bay Area, super funny story. Anyways.
Yeah, let's catch up offline. Like I got some really good stories and really bad stories and everything in between
Yes.
for that.
Yeah, same here. Same here. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yes.
I just want to say something real quick.
Sure.
I think this second order effect work is really interesting and great for entrepreneurs. It's great for investors and business owners. Like there's so many different opportunities that are coming out of this, and just having like and seeing the trends that are going on right now is really valuable for business people, you know?
Yeah. And then
Sure.
second comment coming from a former financial advisor and was getting all my CFP. It's like, right, like we went through the initial shock of like, all right, oh my gosh, everything's going to crash. We're crashing. It's kind of crashed. And now we kind of see the peak. And now everyone as a whole market is starting to see these unique opportunities. So it's this almost like mindset shift that's happening. First, it's going to go with the early adopters and then moving towards the broad market with analyzing specific opportunities. So try and be fast if you're trying to find unique opportunities out there, because now everyone else is learning about these second and third effects.
Yeah, there's
For
like
sure.
probably like a 6 to 9 month window where you can act.
Yeah, I think it
and
was really funny to see, Brian, you put up the largest terms that had changed since COVID, and the number one was DIY haircut. So if a product comes out with mirrors or 2 or 3 of them so you can cut your own hair, huge impact.
Wow. So crazy.
There's so many things we can do with like any of these. We could like go into like creating some like a product for like any of them.
Jody's about to go start her own company.
I really
I'm
considering it like right now.
Go do it. Go.
Jody, you run a hackathon, right? You know, you should
Yeah.
just start your own accelerator.
Anything related to sustainability and this coronavirus, I need to know about. So
We'll keep coming back.
great. I will.
Cool.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. It's been a great show. And we'll see you tomorrow at 10:30, Masters of Marketing.
Thanks,
See you.
guys.